So, I mean, Magic keeps referring to this 3-year plan. I think they need to accelerate the 3-year plan. I don't think LeBron's just a recruiting chip. Don't you want LeBron as being LeBron?
Yes and no. Yes, obviously, yes, you want LeBron to be LeBron. It's not just a recruiting chip. You want to take advantage of his greatness, like you said, especially in his prime, as it's going to end someday. We hope later rather than sooner, but you don't know. We don't know when it's going to end. But no, I don't think they should accelerate it, not at the detriment of sticking to a plan, not at the detriment of having a plan A, plan B, plan C, because that when you overextend yourself, what ends up happening is you might get something good right now, but long term, you'll feel those effects. And I think what they're trying to build is something that has a chance to compete with Golden State. And I don't care what the deal is. There's nothing that's going to get done right now. Now we're ready to compete with Golden State. It's going to be a building process. You got to ramp up to it.
I also don't think they should wait out the Warriors. I think the Houston Rockets have kind of taught the entire league a lesson that, yeah, the Warriors might be dominant, but this is the only time you may have with this roster, so go for it. You can't sacrifice too much, and they have the leverage because they know, and the whole league knows Kawhi wants to come in the summer of 2019. So if you give up a couple first-round picks in Brandon Ingram, that's something that you can stomach a lot more than if it's Ingram and Josh Hart and, Kuzma, whatever, because you're going to need those extra pieces to try to compete with the Warriors this year.
That's absolutely. You don't want to give it. No one wants to give it too much. There's always a too much, right? There's always going to be something that's too much. So I'm not saying, they should, whatever the deal is, they should do it. But they have the leverage only until that leverage runs out when LeBron gets too old. That leverage can disappear without anyone else doing anything.
Well, there's another leverage. $221 million.
Well, that's what I mean. If the Spurs decide to drop that, of course, there's a question of if Kawhi does get dealt somewhere else, and like Paul George decides to stay there and doesn't even give the Lakers a meeting. Now, I would argue Kawhi Leonard's personality is very different than Paul George's. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Paul is so plugged into the people around him, and I mean that as a compliment. He is going to engage and just sort of. I'm not surprised that he became attached to the people and place of Oklahoma City. Kawhi Leonard is a different cat. I don't know if that same lesson can be applied here, but I do know that there are risks. All that being said, the biggest risk is LeBron is getting older. And I know Brandon Ingram's great. I'm a huge Brandon Ingram fan. Kawhi Leonard just turned 27, just like a week and a half ago. He is a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He is an MVP finalist.
Let me be clear. This isn't about Brandon Ingram, right? Because what I always say when Laker fans say, wow, we've got Brandon Ingram, I said, if Brandon Ingram ever ends up to be as good as Kawhi Leonard, multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, right, you would be over the moon. So why would you take the chance of maybe he might be as good as Kawhi Leonard when you can actually have the real Kawhi Leonard right now?
You have that asset. And also just there's a playoff preparedness. That's a process that occurs. And like as you said, there's a shortened window because of LeBron's age, as great as he is at defying Father Time. That's going to end at some point. And rather than have a guy going through his first ever playoff series like a Brandon Ingram, you have a guy with the experience in Kawhi.
I mean, I don't think that means magic. Go out today and make the deal. But I do think that waiting until next summer is too. I personally think it's too late. I think you will have ships crossing in a way that.
I don't think it's too late. I think you just run risks of other things happening. Whether it's
LeBron James coming to your team is a once-in-a-lifetime event.
I get it.
Correct?
Yes.
We could do a jump special if we could make the trade today, though. So maybe Magic should make this trade today. We'll extend the show.
How many jump specials can we have? We will work that out. No, I mean, it's all an interesting question, and I don't know if anything's going to happen tomorrow, but I would keep an eye on this through August because things are cooking over here in Los Angeles.